This is Radio Free Pro Wrestling, your home for smart and stunning wrestling debate with lifelong wrestling fans Sean and Ashlee. Let the debate begin.
Well, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Yes, I am Sean, and I'm always joined by my regular tag team partner, Ashlee. Let's bring Ashlee up here for you guys. And I have a third guest this week, as we have Stanley Karr from Wrestling with a Heart with Stanley Karr. Stanley is a fellow Tennessean. Ashlee, you're dealing with two Tennesseans this week. May God have mercy on your soul.
Well, you guys are out there in the middle. I'm over here on the coast.
What part of Tennessee are you from?
Knoxville, Tennessee. I am
You're from Knoxville, okay.
Yeah. So this is going to be a fun Southern week of wrestling talk, and poor Ashlee's going to have to sit through two Tennessee accents.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. It means a lot, and I really do appreciate it.
Well, you are welcome, Stanley.
Looking forward to talking some wrestling.
It's a very interesting week because we're rolling into AEW Blood and Guts. It's going to be live this Wednesday night from Nashville, Tennessee. It's one of the reasons why I brought Stanley on, because he's from Nashville. He's been in the wrestling scene for a good while now. His podcast has a different twist on wrestling podcasts. Stanley, go ahead and tell us about it.
Yeah, so my podcast is called Wrestling with Heart. I started the podcast about almost 2 years ago. It was actually part of a class project that I was doing. I took this podcasting class while I was working at this college station where I still am now, and I decided to do a wrestling podcast, not just an average wrestling podcast or a podcast about the stuff that goes on in the ring, but talking about the good works that these men and women do outside of the ring, because you don't really hear about that as much. The charity work, the volunteering, the community service, kind of shine like a human element, on it. Shine a light on the good stuff that these men and women are doing, showing the human element, I guess I should say. And so I wanted to really promote it and highlight that. So I really see a lot of things, positive things coming out of this project, and I'm in this for the long haul. So thank you again for having me.
Hey, no problem. So let's get to the control center. We're going to catch everybody up on the week in professional wrestling news.
This is your Radio Free Pro Wrestling Control Center. All the wrestling news you need to know.
Okay, guys. First story this week. Unfortunately, back on Saturday night during the AEW Collision show, Sky Blue was injured. Now we know that she has a broken ankle due to Shida missing the crossbody. Luckily, the referee decided to end the match right then and there, but we want to wish Sky Blue a speedy recovery. Ashlee, you were the one who actually told me this as we were watching AEW, and I had to go back and watch again. I was going, oh no, because Sky Blue just came back from an injury like not that long ago.
Yeah, kind of a big blow for the women's division here. But Sky Blue seems to, be in okay spirits. She had some pictures already up on social media and everything. So hopefully she can recover quickly, because she is going to be missed.
So my second news story for you guys. Last week, there were pictures going around showing that AEW content was moving over to Max, which is the service Time Warner's streaming service. Later on, it was found out that this was internationally. It wasn't available in the United States. I literally checked my Max, and all I have is like the reality show they did a few years ago. But guys, are we ready to see AEW on Max having a streaming service for all the AEW content that they had for the last 4 years?
Yeah, I think it would be a very good way to get people who didn't start watching AEW at the beginning into it, to introduce them to some of the personas and characters there. And the big caveat being that hopefully this means the deal is locked in.
Well, I was reading stuff this morning that there's reportedly a deal signed. They're not ready to announce it yet because Q2 hasn't come to a close yet. Q2 of the fiscal year doesn't end until the beginning of August. So I would stay tuned because I feel like within the next 14 days, we're going to know everything we need to know about this AEW TV deal. What do you think, Stanley?
Yeah, I think the more wrestling content, the better. Wrestling has just become so accessible now. You have it on both regular cable or network television and your streaming stuff. So the more wrestling content, the better. There's so much more access now. Technology has advanced. So streaming's the new thing. People are checking it out and watching, their favorite wrestling shows. So yeah, I think this is great. It's great news.
Well, we're moving on to our news story as Fightful is reporting that both MVP and Bobby Lashley have been removed from the internal rosters at WWE. And it's also reported that both gentlemen's contracts are ending inside the next month or so. Guys, where do you want to see MVP and Ashley go back? Do you want to see them in Impact, or do you want to see them go over to AEW?
I kind of want to. I really wish they would. It's a shame they won't be able to work something out in WWE because I feel like both men could be used, in prominent spots on the main roster. But if I had to pick one over the other, I'd say AEW.
How about you, Ashley?
Well, I know that there's a lot of people who want to see him head to AEW or possibly back to TNA because he has a lot of history there with like Impact Wrestling and TNA. But kind of like to see him go to New Japan, maybe try out New Japan for a little bit. There's some big guys in New Japan, Bolton Ole, Shingo Takagi, Henare. I think he could have some really good matchups there. Be a good way to kind of try something new for him in a style and a place he really rarely has been, and a style he hasn't done so much. But I could definitely see like MVP even going along and being a manager, or kind of like the mouthpiece he was for Lashley during the Hurt Business, because this to me is, I don't know what WWE did here. This is somebody that helped carry them through the pandemic, kind of along with Drew McIntyre, in my opinion, and I'm not sure why he doesn't seem to get the credit.
Ashley, I agree with you. This is the biggest what if in WWE recent history. We literally never had the Hurt Business interact with the Bloodline. The most dominant stable on Raw never interfered or interact with the most dominant stable on SmackDown in the course of two factions working at the same time. And I'm like, dude, you guys are leaving money on the table. Roman versus Bobby Lashley, Bloodline versus Hurt Business. It wrote itself. Come on, it wrote.
It was.
Come on,
it could have been great.
Could have had some Paul Heyman and MVP back and forth, like to help build it up, and Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns would have been two big guys just beating the hell out of each other, and that feels just like such a big missed opportunity.
And granted, I know we're previewing AEW Blood and Guts this week on the show. Personally, I want to see Bobby Lashley and MVP back to TNA Wrestling, reform the Beat Down Clan, and have a run there, because maybe it's just me having the afterglow of an excellent TNA Slammiversary card on Saturday night, and I watched that, and I'm just like, hey, let's just take people over to TNA now.
Well, the cool thing is now you got TNA. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was just going to say him versus Jake something could be very good. I would love to see something like that.
I was going to say, with this now working relationship with TNA and with WWE, maybe a run in TNA would be good for him, because you never know. WWE might want to hire him back at some point.
Or, Stanley, they might just renew their contracts and just slide them over maybe to Impact, like a loan. You loan this person out because you don't have...
Right. That's what I was going to say. It was like just have him go there for a little bit, and when there was something that might come up, they might bring him back.
Exactly.
ostensibly make a little bit of a trade. You got Joe Hendry kind of wanting to stay on NXT for a bit, so maybe do send Lashley over there. That could be a nice little trade-off and get Lashley back in the public eye.
Exactly. Yeah. That would be kind of cool.
And speaking of a excellent TNA Slammiversary card, I'm going to run down the results here for you guys. If you, just in case you didn't watch it on Saturday night, I know there's a lot of things people do on Saturday, but I'm going to go out of my way to praise TNA Wrestling here because this was one fine card. We started off on the pre-show with a women's four-way match that was won by Tasha Steelz. She defeated Giselle Shaw, Zyla Brooksides, and Fava Apache. Then, I think one of the sleeper matches of the night here was Kushida defeat Rich Swann. And this was a different Kushida. This Kushida was not the time splitter Kushida that we know for a while. He came out with a different persona, a more dark and more like intense persona. And I thought him and Rich Swann had a hell of a match. The Impact Tag Team titles, the Knockout titles, are still with Alicia Edwards and Masha Slamovitz. They defeated Spitfire. We had Broken Matt Hardy, the first match on the main card, defeat JDC. That's the former Dirty Dano. We have a new TNA Tag Team Champions as ABC defeat Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. And a NXT TNA crossover match, the Wrestles, with Wes Lee coming back and reforming the Wrestles, defeat No Quarter Catch Crew, which is led by Charlie Dempsey, who we know as William Regal's son. And probably the best entrance of the night on the show was PCO coming out, becoming the double champion as he defeated AJ Francis. And that was one heck of a match. You know, as much grief of wrestling fans give AJ Francis, this was a dang good showing by him on the show.
I think that guy catches a lot of flack online and stuff for like one botch, you know, just never lived it down.
Exactly. And I feel like this TNA run he's on right now is kind of rehabbing his wrestling career. I feel like maybe people are putting that behind now and they're looking at what he's doing in TNA wrestling. What do you think, Stanley?
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll go on to the next match, and it was for the Knockout title as Jordan Grace defeats Ash by Elegance. If you don't know who Ash by Elegance is, it's the former Dana Brooke. And of course, I feel like this was just a match to advance Jordan Grace onto somebody else, as Jordan Grace is the most dominant knockout champion of the modern era for that belt. If you need to go see one freaking match from this card, it's the next match. It's Mustafa Ali versus Speedball Mike Bailey. And Speedball Mike Bailey won this match in Montreal with Earl Hebner as the referee.
In Montreal.
In Montreal. The first time I do believe Earl Hebner was referee in Montreal since the infamous Montreal Screwjob. And we wrap this up with a final. Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler, is now your TNA World Champion as he won the 6-man elimination match. And inside this match, Joe Henry defeated Moose to eliminate him, only to get turned on by Josh Alexander as Josh Alexander turns heel. And we end up with a final two of being Nick Nemeth and lifelong TNA original Kazarian. And for a moment there, guys, I thought they were going to give the belt to Kazarian. I had my fingers crossed. I was like, are they going to pull the trigger? I was hoping they would. But, you know, I will agree. Nick Nemeth is good. What do you guys think?
I think so. I mean, Nick Nemeth has worked his butt off, you know, for the last 10 to 15 years. I mean, definitely one of the most iconic WWE superstars of all time. And I think that for someone that was able to, you know, cross over, make an impact, no pun intended, so to speak, I think he'll be a great champion.
What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, agreed. And with the WWE NXT TNA kind of bridge, he's somebody who can easily, he knows the people in NXT, he knows the people in TNA. He's somebody who can kind of help bridge that for them. And I saw a lot of people saying it should have gone to Hendry, but I do still think it's early for Hendry.
Actually, I feel like last week we were talking with Kimmy Sokol, and Kimmy was right. There's so much interaction with Joe Hendrick and on the NXT brand. Eventually, they're going to probably have him in the NXT World Title match. Do you want your TNA champion versus the NXT champion, and not be able to have it on your pay-per-view, or be able to decide who wins the match? And do you really want your champion of your brand to lose to the other brand? So I feel like they went in the right direction here with Nick Nev. He is the hot talent they brought in back in January, right off his release from the WWE. And I feel like Nick Nev is going to use this just like Drew McIntyre did, and just build up a solid reputation on the indies until the WWE realizes, darn it, we need to get back together. What do you think, Stanley?
100% agree. I could see there being an NXT and TNA premium live event in the near future. Worlds collide.
Exactly. That Worlds Collide is a perfect format to do this. And these two rosters, there's a lot of possibilities, guys. You can we'll have you guys. We'll do a random card. We'll build our own World Collide card in a few weeks when we have Stanley back on here. And we'll do that. That would be kind of cool. Okay, guys. My final thing for the Control Center. Let's get everybody up to date on the G1 tournament that's going on right now for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Ashley, unfortunately, Evil is tied with Zack Sabre Jr. at 4 points. How do you feel about that, my friend?
I'm very excited for Zack Sabre Jr. I am, as you know, not so excited for House of Torture. I don't see Evil making it to the finals, but I'm hoping it'll be Zack Sabre Jr.'s year. Especially kind of after the Naito match. I kind of feel like our worst fears with Naito in this tournament are already kind of coming true.
Well, it's interesting. He's at 0 points. Also, Sonata at 0 points in Block A here. And if you haven't seen the Sonata versus Jake Lee, that match lasted about 5 minutes and 40 seconds. And I just sat there at Saturday morning going like, that's your former New Japan Pro Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, Sonata. Are we doing
And then you had Jake
dirty?
Lee lose to Evil. Jake Lee dirty too.
Literally 24 hours later. And I'm going like, what are we doing here? Are we trying to build Jake Lee up as this big imposing monster only to get destroyed by Evil? I'm like, anyway, let's go over to the other block. The other block, Block B here, we have Hanari and Yoramura at 4 points each. Tatesha and Jeff Cobb at 2. They have a match literally later tonight, early Tuesday morning. If you're able to stay up, I will highly recommend you guys stay up and watch this freaking match.
Oh, I will be watching that as soon as I can. I'm excited for that.
I'll check it out.
Now, personally, what's surprising here is that David Finlay, the leader of Bullet Club, is at 0 points.
Yeah, taking some big losses, and I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like he's somebody that they tried to build up as a heel. It wasn't really well received. I feel like he's gaining a lot of traction since coming back from injury, and I don't like the call to have him lose these 2 matches right back to back.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. We're still early in the G1 tournament. The one thing I do realize from the first couple of days is New Japan Pro Wrestling is actually trying to develop their younger talent. As we see Sonata, Naito taking early losses here, but I still think maybe they're going to build this where we don't know exactly who's going to come out in both blocks until the very last night of the tournament.
And I definitely want to throw out a lot of praise for Bolton Bulleg. I mentioned him earlier, and coming out for the G1 and finally having his new ring attire, theme music, his own entrance instead of the Young Lion gear. He looks fantastic, and he is taken to professional wrestling, like, just, it's like natural for him.
Very true. And you know what? He was my breakout star of the weekend because I didn't know much about that gentleman until I saw him wrestle the first 2 nights. I went, this is somebody I need to start watching more of because the dude is freaking amazing. And that has been your Control Center here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling for July the 22nd, 2024. We are going over to the 76 questions. And I want to
Time to ring the bell. As Shawn and Ashlee debate. Time to ring the bell. As Shawn and Ashlee debate 6 stunning questions from the week of wrestling. All the whys. And what the hell was that?
Okay, guys. First stunning question of the week. Do you agree with the finish of Will Ospreay versus MJF last week on Dynamite for the International title? Stanley, how do you feel about the finish of that match? A 58-minute masterpiece by some. Others think the finish was what?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're gonna get that with a match that like has a near fall or just ends in a pinfall that people are just gonna go, "Ooh, what's gonna happen now?" So I believe what MJF won the title, and then he put like a mask over him, a surgeon mask, face mask. I mean, it was really good. So it's just one of those things where you're gonna have to find out what's gonna happen. So I don't know. I would think MJF is able to keep the belt going forward.
Ashlee, how do you feel about this finish?
Conflicted, to be honest. I loved the match, and then when we got to the ending, I understand it because I think the obvious thing would be to have the rematch at All In to have Will Ospreay win it back. But I also don't like where that leaves Pac, who won a #1 contenders match a few weeks ago and still has yet to cash in on it.
Well, guys, I personally love the match for 57 minutes until MJF pulls out the diamond ring and whops Will Ospreay. And I'm just sitting there going like, wait a minute, that's Will Ospreay, your biggest acquisition in years. The guy that you're pushing as the main star of this company, and he's lost his he's lost 2 matches inside of 3 weeks. And granted, I know before the AEW fans jump on me here, he lost to MJF and Strickland, 2 of the big stars in AEW. But still, we're to the point where we're looking at Will Ospreay going, where does he fit on the All-In card? And oh, by the way, he's British, and that show's in London.
I'm sure they'll highlight him in a positive way. I mean, they did it with Saraya last year, so I'm sure he'll make his way back and they'll build him up. So I'm confident that he can pull through this.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think like the end game for them will be to have a rematch at All In, but I feel like that just leaves, first of all, Pac, who had been calling out Ospreay out in the cold, and it also leaves Daniel Garcia like kind of on the outs of this right now, unless they can find a way for him to come back in the next few weeks.
Well, when you were talking about Pac being left out in the cold because of a possible rematch, I was thinking, you know what they could do to make this a little different for All In London? We can go triple threat rules and have a 3-way match with MJF, Will Ospreay, and Pac for the international title. They can play that card.
Possibly.
So how would you feel about that,
like
Ashley?
I would enjoy it, but I think my problem with it would be a little predictable. I don't think like Pac would be the winner in that match if we did that, but it would be a hell of a match in ring.
Well, great. It would be a hell of a match. My thing is, do we want to hot potato this international title? And yes, I know AEW has a million freaking titles, but to get this title back onto Will Ospreay maybe a month after he lost it, I just don't see what the play is here. I feel like if we're going to give MJF this international title, he needs to keep it for a while. And are we trying to lift Will Ospreay up to the AEW World Title level?
It's just a wait and see. I kind of like what you're saying. You might want to give it some time before he gets the belt.
Okay, so we're moving on to my second stunning question this week. As we left last week's episode of AEW Dynamite TV, we saw Team Elite versus Team AEW. They're brawling, and we had this one moment, Ashley. You know what I'm talking about. It's the stare down between Strickland and Heyman Adam Page. And Okada grabs Heyman Adam Page and literally drags him away from Strickland before anything could happen. We don't get to see the guys touch. But I got a question for you. Does Hangman turn on the Elite here and say solo, or does he actually become even more of a heel and join the group?
I don't know. I could see something like a miscommunication, especially with Okada and Hangman, costing them the match, and maybe in kind of an indirect way that leads to like Hangman sort of turning on them. Just having this already high tension with Okada. You see something like that happening. I don't know if in this character, I don't think he's going to join them right now.
Stanley, what Hangman Adam Page's character reminds me of is AJ Styles when he was the lone wolf back in TNA when we had aces and eights running around. I get that vibe from how he is right now. And that AJ Styles was approached by aces and eights, hey, join us. But he was like, no, I'm good with my own thing. So you guys go do your thing. I'll do mine. So you feel that same way with Heyman?
Yeah, I mean, the Elite's like the hottest angle going on right now in AEW. So I think that you've got a good set of guys right now. I don't know if you want to add too many members in there, but it kind of has that interesting factor with Adam Page where people may or may not know if he's going to side with the team AEW or just go on his own. So it's just one of those interesting things to what could happen here.
Exactly. So we'll move on to my third standing question this week. And coming off of the brutal beatdown that Mariah May did on Toni Storm, my question for you guys is, do we go ahead and give her the AEW world title in London? Should Mariah May beat Toni Storm?
Oh, wow. So I don't know. I think that you might want to build it up just a little bit, so we give it a little bit of time. But I think Mariah at some point should get the title. I think she'd make a great champion. I think Toni Storm's done incredible work there as well. I love her character. So it should be pretty good. So I don't know. I mean, I could see them maybe doing it, but who knows?
Ashley, how do you feel about this? Do you want to see Mariah May have the title, or do you want to see Toni Storm get a pound of flesh, a little bit of revenge for that brutal beatdown a few weeks ago on AEW Dynamite?
I would love to see it, but Mariah is so good, and this angle has been just insane. It feels like it's Mariah's time with the way this has gone.
Yeah, I mean,
I would love to see Toni get a revenge, though.
I could see that too. I could see Mariah hold the belt. That'd be a good place for her to win it too. Big event.
True, Stanley. And literally, a couple weeks ago, before the heel turn, I was thinking Toni Storm would be the one to turn on Mariah May, and May would have the victory in London. You would have that babyface reaction of her getting the title. Now I'm conflicted here, and that's why I kind of phrased this question the way I did, because I feel like the way they laid that beating on Toni Storm, I mean, she's clearly the babyface in AEW's mind when they're telling the story. And to me, the babyface after that beatdown needs to defeat the heel.
Yeah, I mean, I saw her promo this week where she dressed up as Toni and just some of the best acting I've seen from her, perhaps ever. It was really good. She did a great job, and I'm looking forward to it. I think that she could be a champion soon. It'd be really good.
She looks
Ashley,
just like Toni.
I was about ready to say that, Ashley. This was one of my favorite promo segments of the year, and is how Mariah May copied everything down to the detail of how Toni Storm delivers her promo and the way she comes to the ring. I mean, this lady is destined to be a star if AEW plays their cards right.
She's got so much range, so I definitely could see her being a top star in the company.
For sure.
So we'll move to my fourth stunning question this week. This seems weird timing for this Blood and Guts match. Usually the Blood and Guts match is a match that ends a hot feud. To me personally, Team Elite versus Team AEW, I feel like we're at chapter 2 of this story, Stanley. I don't think we're ready to hit the crescendo here with this blood and guts match, but we're here live in Las Vegas with this match. How you feel?
Well, the blood and guts match should be like a Hell in a Cell or Steel Cage, where it's like the end of something. So I'm not 100% sure if it feels like to me they should build it up a little bit more before we get to it. Just because I think that, it's a big match, so you want to have something really huge go down in the end. So, I mean, it should be good, though. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Okay, Ashlee, do you think I'm correct in my assumption, or am I just crazy about this match?
No, I do think that this is a weird one, especially because, like, the Elite teaming together makes sense. Team AEW doesn't particularly make a lot of sense. For the stories that were going on separately, it makes sense. You have Hangman and Swerve, you have the Acclaimed and the Bucks. Like, for certain things it makes sense, but when you think of AEW and somebody you would want on a Team AEW, like Darby Allin certainly comes to mind. He's certainly a guy I would want on Team AEW. But like the Acclaimed aren't exactly people that come to mind for that. Even Mark Briscoe, as much as we love him, like, hey, I wouldn't say no. But it just seems like there was a lot of calls for like Jon Moxley to be on this team or something like that, but I don't feel like storyline wise that makes any sense. I just don't think like the Bucks and the Acclaimed are like hot enough right now to be, like you said, like having like a blow off type match right now. It's been very strange, like this build.
I agree with you, Ashlee. I feel like we're kind of skipping the middle chapters of this AEW versus Team Elite feud, and we're right now heading towards the finale of this book. And maybe they got some planned for Wednesday. They'll spin this around so they can keep the story going, and we'll be happy with it. I've got my fingers crossed. I mean, it should be a fine match, Stanley. You got 8 of the best talents in AEW inside this ring.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not worried about the match quality. I think it's going to be really good. The fans will love it. I'll love it, and it'll be great.
Okay, so we're going on to my 5th stunning question this week. And Ashlee, we kind of hinted at this through the couple of questions I did this week so far. Do you want to see Heyman Adam Page versus Okada, the Okada one, at AEW All In London?
Yes. I feel like we all sort of predicted that Hangman was going to win the Owen and go on to take Swerve at All In. But with Bryan Danielson taking that match, I would love to see this. It seems like another type of like elite infighting, but I've loved Okada's like character and stuff since he's come to AEW, so I'm very excited to see him antagonize this very serious and angry Hangman.
Hey, Stanley, how do you feel about the interaction between Okada and Heyman? They kind of seem not to be on the same page, but they have the same friends in the Young Bucks.
Well, I think that if they have like similar goals, I think they should be able to put their differences aside. So they should be they should be working together at some point down the road. So some point down the line. So I think that unless they're teasing a feud between the two, like in the weeks ahead, I wouldn't say yes. I wouldn't count on it yet. So we'll see what happens.
True. Now, if we can't get Swerve versus Heyman and Page for the title at All In London or All Out, I will happily take Okada versus Heyman Adam Page.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
And I'm pretty sure I can see Ashlee's face going like, yes, Sean, I agree with you 100%.
Yes.
So getting back to Ashlee's statement about the Acclaim, 6th and final stunning question this week. Should the Acclaim be part of Team AEW? Because one of these doesn't seem like the other guys, and I want to say it's the Acclaim.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of like the backlash I've seen about the Acclaimed being in this match, there's some of it that makes sense, and there's some of it that doesn't. Like I said, storyline-wise, it makes sense. They've been in this feud with the Bucks, so just putting them across from the Bucks, it makes sense. It doesn't feel big enough to be in a blood and guts type match, but I will say I did like the serious turn from Daddy Ass that we saw this past week, where he sort of yells at Max and Anthony to get in line. And I do think AEW talents sometimes have this period of time where like they have trouble getting over, or like haven't gotten themselves over quite yet. We've seen the Acclaim be over before, but I feel like sometimes these types of matches can help reinvigorate them. We've seen it kind of happen with like some of the women in the women's like hardcore matches, things like that. I feel like this is a type of match they excel at in AEW. So I'm hoping that, like you said, maybe we get some storyline developments or something coming out of this that helps to kind of help heat this up, because this feud for the tag team titles has not felt important at all.
Very true. I feel like since the Young Bucks have got these titles back off of Darby and Sting, they kind of been in a holding pattern. They've been waiting for a babyface team to come up to their level. And Stanley, do you feel like the Acclaim have gotten back to what they were 1 year ago, that hot babyface tag team?
Well, you're seeing a lot of talents now make their way into AEW. So with a huge roster, you're going to see guys that are just going to get lost in the shuffle, unfortunately. So you got a lot of programming right now, so they can only feature so many people. So I don't know. I mean, I'm optimistic. I think they can do it. I think they can pull through. So we'll just have to see. I think they're really good talents. So hopefully we see a resurgence.
I do too, Stanley. I'm hoping that this kickstarts a more serious main event push for the Acclaim, where eventually they do get the titles back off of the Young Bucks, and we have another run with the Acclaim and Daddy Ass as the tag team champions. Ashlee, do you have any final thoughts on Team Acclaim? Should First One gone out and went, hey, let me go find me some other guys that do this tag team with?
Yeah, like I said, I think for the storyline, I think AEW takes that criticism to heart sometimes about not having storylines or stories to follow. And I feel like this one is certainly in line with what they've been telling. And like I said, I'm hoping that this type of match can help like pull Max and Anthony out of this rut that they've been in for the past few months. And we know what the Young Bucks are capable of in a cage. So hopefully they can help kind of reheat them up and hopefully start something more important with these tag team titles. So.
True. I feel like we're going into the all-out, all-in season. I feel like this is going to be the kickstart to all the crazy stuff that will be happening in the next 3 weeks. This has been your 76 questions here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. We are heading around the home stretch here to preview other things coming up in this week of Professional Wrestling. This is On Tap.
What's on tap? The guys give you their picks on what you can't miss this week.
Okay, guys. Something else that's happened at AEW Dynamite this Wednesday night is going to be Britt Baker, Dr. DMD, having her very first match back from her injury versus Sheeta. Ashlee, how excited are you for Sheeta versus Britt Baker?
I'm looking forward to this. I kind of like this sort of like heel edge that Sheeta had to her in the post-match promo on Saturday. With Britt Baker coming back, being the big baby face, coming back from her very serious medical condition and her injury, I'm pretty excited to see Britt Baker back in the ring.
I am too, and I'm looking forward to her eventual showdown with Mercedes Moné. I think that's a match that fans want to see, and I'm excited for it. That's going to be incredible. And yeah, I mean, she came back to a standing ovation, so I'm in. I'm excited.
You know, Stanley, when I saw this match preview on the card this weekend, I kicked myself in the butt not making that 3-hour drive west to see you and like, hey, let's go to Dynamite, because I could have been there to see Britt Baker's first return match from her injury, and I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I'm looking forward to it.
And I got a feeling that a certain CEO might just make an appearance to make sure she knows exactly what Britt Baker is doing and may cause Britt Baker her first win.
Yeah, she could come out there, have some shenanigans go on. I mean, it's the fun of wrestling. You never know what you can expect.
Right, especially after Britt Baker has ruined all of her celebrations recently. I can definitely see her hosting a match.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Very fair point, Ashley. Now, another thing on this Dynamite card for you lovely people in Nashville, unfortunately, it's the learning tree, Chris Jericho, but hey, he's going against Murder Grandpa, the Murder Hawk, Minoru Suzuki.
Had to balance it out somehow, I guess.
I mean, listen, Chris Jericho is one of the greatest of all time. I mean, he's been able to reinvent himself over the years with, the Y2J character, to wearing a suit, to doing the stuff with the list, with the inner circle, with the learning tree. I mean, he's done the Jericho Appreciation Society. He's done everything that he can to try out new things, and it's worked. So, I mean, this character, it's fun to see Jericho really take on a new role. So I like this. And plus, Minoru Suzuki, a legend in Japan, a worldwide legend in professional wrestling. So I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be really good.
I'm as well, Stanley, because I feel like this is a first time ever meeting. This is a dream match for Chris Jericho, because this is a guy in Minoru Suzuki that he literally wanted to wrestle. And we're going to get to be able to see it this Wednesday on AEW Dynamite. I do want to highlight one match Thursday night on TNA Wrestling, as we have Eric Young and Jordan Grace. They're going to face off against a returning Hammerstone and Ash by Elegance. Hammerstone made his return at TNA Slammiversary. And I got to say, Nashville, Tennessee, we love Eric Young. He's one of our guys. Mm-hmm. And to see him have a good run back in TNA wrestling and be prominent in their main card level, I'm just happy to see Eric Young, and I can't wait for Thursday night. Stanley, you're in Nashville. Tell everybody about Eric Young and what he means to the city.
I mean, Eric Young is a TNA original. I mean, he's done it all. He's won the world title. I think that I wish he could have had a good run in WWE as well, but he had a really good run in TNA. For him to be able to still go on and still do what he loves to do, it's remarkable. So it's great that he's sticking with it after all these years. He's still doing it, so it's great.
And at such a high level.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I mean, like, this guy has been a 20-plus year veteran in professional wrestling, and he only gets better. And just like we were talking about Chris Jericho being able to reinvent himself, Eric Young has been able to reinvent himself, and every one of his characters has hit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that has been your On Tap segment here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. We're heading to the end of this show. So, Stanley, my friend, let's get you up here on the main stage. Let's get you a little something here for you. And I'm going to do this. Hey, Stanley, where can we find you on the Super Information Superhighway?
Yes. So if you want to check out Wrestling with Heart with Stanley Karr, I've got all the interviews up on YouTube. I just posted an interview with Kelly, and I've got interviews with people like Al Snow, Stevie Ray, the Blue Meanie, Candice Michelle, Victoria. I got so many people coming on the show soon, so check out the interviews on YouTube. We want to grow our channel, so hit us up, like the videos, share, subscribe, as well as X, WWHWSK. Follow us there. Instagram, at Wrestling with Heart. And, of course, Facebook. Type in Wrestling with Heart with Stanley Karr. We want to get up to 900 likes, so like the page, share with your friends. And we're also available on all your podcasting platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, everywhere. Just find us there and check out the content. We got so many things coming, so please, I am thankful for your support and grateful for your support. We're in this for the long haul, so all your support is appreciated.
And Stanley, is your Nikita Koloff interview coming out this Thursday? I kind of think I remember hearing that through the grapevine.
Yes, it'll be out Wednesday.
Ooh, even a day earlier. You need to check out this interview with Stanley and Nikita Koloff. I can't wait to hear it, because Nikita was my very first interview here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. An excellent gentleman, a true professional wrestler, and I know Stanley's going to ask a lot of great questions.
Yes, I have. I did. I had an incredible time talking with him, and I hope you all enjoy it.
And of course, I need to make amends from last week, as I kind of forgot my tag team partner's official 1 year
We both
anniversary
forgot.
with the show. So allow me to wish Ashlee a very happy 53rd week on the show. Happy anniversary to you, Ashlee. And Ashlee, instead of me closing the show down, close the show down for us, please.
Oh no. Well, I'll just give out my Twitter. So I'm on Twitter and it's @groovy_ash_. If you can check out our page on Twitter, our website, www.radiofreepw.com.
Oh, she'll come back in here in a second. Okay, Ash, you disappeared for a second. You want me to finish it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hang on a second. I'll do this. And of course, you can follow Radio Free Professional Wrestling on Twitter at Radio Free PW. Visit www.radiofreepw.com to catch up on the latest episodes. And of course, all the links are in the show notes, and Stanley's will be in the show notes as well. Easy for you to find. And guys, until we see you next time on Radio Free Professional Wrestling, Stanley, everybody, have a stunning week. Enjoy your professional wrestling.
You do as well. Thank you guys so much for having me.
It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time on Radio Free Professional Wrestling.